My precious child, I see your tears. I hear the question swirling in your heart. Why this pain? Why this struggle? I want to pull back the veil and show you what your eyes cannot yet see. Your suffering is not meaningless. Your pain has a purpose. I do not waste a single wound. From the ashes of your deepest trials, I will bring beauty. From the fractures of your heart, I will pour forth light. Trust me. Long ago, I spoke through my servant Isaiah. I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. My refining fire is not to destroy you, but to reveal the gold within you. Your pain is not your enemy. It is my instrument of redemption. Even my son, Jesus, was a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He carried the weight of the world's brokenness so that your sorrows could be transformed into something sacred. He was pierced for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. His suffering became the doorway to your freedom. Remember Job? I allowed loss, sickness, and despair to strip away everything he held dear. Yet in that emptiness, he encountered me. He cried out in agony, "My soul loathes my life, I will give free course to my complaint." But in the end, he confessed, "My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you." Job's suffering became a gateway to deeper intimacy with me. His story is not about unanswered pain, but about my unshakable presence in the storm. Your trials, too, are invitations to know me as comforter rather than merely conductor. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood in the flames, I did not rescue them from the fire, I joined them in it. The flames burned away their chains, but could not touch their souls. So it is with you. The pain that feels like it's consuming you is actually clearing space for my presence. When you feel most alone, remember my promise in Isaiah, when you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, the flames will not set you ablaze. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. The furnace is not your end, it is where I reveal myself as deliverer. You ask, how can anything good come from this? Listen to my words in Romans. We rejoice in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Your pain is not a detour, it is the path to becoming who I created you to be. When Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and forgotten in prison, he could not see my plan. But later, he declared, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to save many lives." Your deepest wounds may become someone else's salvation. Your scars will testify, what the enemy meant for evil, God has redeemed for glory. Consider Ruth, a widow in a foreign land. Her grief and poverty led her to Boaz, a kinsman redeemer. Through her tears, she became part of the lineage of my son. Your brokenness is a bridge to miracles you cannot yet imagine. Even Naomi, Ruth's mother-in-law, thought I had turned against her. Yet her bitterness turned to joy when I restored her family. Your sorrows, too, will birth unexpected joy. My apostle Paul pleaded with me 3 times to remove his thorn in the flesh. I answered him plainly, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Paul's weakness became a stage for my strength. His limitations magnified my limitless love. Child, your thorns are not mistakes. They are my mercies in disguise. They keep you dependent on me. They remind you that true strength flows not from your abilities, but from my spirit. Even my son learned obedience through what he suffered. His crucifixion seemed like defeat, but it became the triumph that shattered death itself. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus sweat drops of blood, anguished by the cup he would drink. Yet he surrendered, "Not my will, but yours be done." His submission to suffering opened the way for your redemption. Your surrender to my will in pain unlocks similar eternal purposes. Like Esther, who faced mortal danger to save her people, your pain may position you for such a time as this. When you hurt, you share in the fellowship of my sufferings. Peter wrote to persecuted believers, "Rejoice that you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed." Your pain unites you with me in ways prosperity never could. At the Last Supper, Jesus told his disciples, "In this world, you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." I do not ask you to pretend your pain isn't real. I ask you to fix your eyes on the reality beyond it, the eternal weight of glory awaiting you. When my early church faced persecution, they scattered, carrying my gospel to the ends of the earth. Their suffering sowed seeds of salvation. Your trials, too, can spread my light to dark places. Like the disciples who sang hymns in prison, your praise in pain becomes a beacon of hope to those watching. Every tear you cry is held in my bottle. Every prayer whispered in darkness is etched into my heart. The psalmist vowed, "Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy." Your grief is a seed. Your endurance is soil. One day, you will stand in a harvest of righteousness, bewildered by the abundance sprung from what felt like barren ground. When Lazarus died, Martha accused me, "If you had been here, my brother would not have died." But I delayed so she could witness resurrection. What I did for Lazarus, I will do for you. Your dead places will breathe again. Your brokenness will bloom. Hannah wept bitterly for a child, and I gave her Samuel, a prophet who anointed kings. Your tears are not wasted. They water the ground for my promises. Even David, in the Psalms, turned his lament into praise. You turned my wailing into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. Your mourning will one day become dancing. Child, fix your eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Paul urged the Corinthians, "Our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." The pain that feels endless is but a vapor in light of eternity. In Revelation, I promised, "I am making everything new." No more tears. No more pain. The old order will pass away. But until then, your suffering has a holy assignment: to refine you, to minister to others, and to magnify my name. Even creation groans, as Paul wrote, in the pains of childbirth, awaiting its redemption. Your groans are not in vain. They are part of a cosmic story where I redeem all things. Like the Israelites in Egypt, your groans reached my ears, and I am moving to deliver you. How, then, should you walk through suffering? First, cast all your anxiety on me, because I care for you. Second, let your trials deepen your compassion. As Paul wrote, "Praise be to the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God." Third, cling to hope. David wrote, "Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning." Your night will end. Your morning will dawn. Until then, let my presence be your peace. Finally, remember my words in James, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." Joy is not denial, it is defiance. It is the quiet confidence that I am working even when you cannot see it. I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Your pain is not the end of your story. It is the soil where miracles grow. Take my hand. Walk forward in courage. Your suffering has a purpose, and I will walk with you every step of the way.